Just a quick one tonight because I find this so strange and I can't wrap my head around why this is happening. The Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras Committee, Mardi Gras is on this weekend in Sydney, the annual queer event. Big celebration, lots of sequins and glitter and stuff. It's always fun. They have said that they don't want the New South Wales Police to do their regular float and to march in the parade. Now, this comes off the back of the tragic, disgusting, despicable alleged murder of Jessie Baird and Luke Davies, the gay couple who were allegedly shot by a scorned ex-lover, also police officer, senior constable Beau Lemaire Condon. He allegedly used his police weapon to shoot these two men to death and then discard their bodies. Their bodies have been found today, which hopefully gives the families some sort of peace, but the suspect is currently in Silverwater prison. Let's hope he's dealt with to the full extent of the law and also inside prison, because what he's done is absolutely despicable. Off the back of that, the Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras Committee have said that they don't want the police to march in the parade as they've done for the last 20 years. Now, people are finding this very strange. I'm finding this strange because this murder has absolutely nothing to do with the police force as a whole. The police force is not supporting their colleague who allegedly did this. They've worked tirelessly to find the bodies and to give the families some sort of peace and closure. This guy just happened to be a police officer. The police didn't have anything to do with it. He acted alone. He had no accomplices. He is clearly just a deranged psychopath, but it's got nothing to do with the wider police force and it's got nothing to do with his occupation. So for the committee to say, we don't want the entire police force to participate in this event, which they've been participating in for decades, and to tar the entire force with the same brush as this person who is clearly an anomaly and a very sick individual, is just, it doesn't make any sense to me. And the commissioner has come out today and said that she's really disappointed with this request and they are trying to work together to come to some sort of compromise. And I think they've been discussing it today, and they've said that it would maybe be okay if the police force marched, just not in uniform. Now, this tells me that the Mardi Gras committee has an issue with the police force. I don't really see a connection with the incident that happened over the last few days. Now, it would be really disappointing if they were using this really tragic incident as a way to push out the police force from having their regular participation in the parade. They've said that they're doing it because the community needs time to grieve, and I understand that, but would they be doing this if the alleged perpetrator was a flight attendant? Would Qantas not be allowed to have their normal float that they do? Or if he worked for a bank, I know the Commonwealth Bank has a float and representation in the parade. Would they say the same thing if he was working at that institution? I'm not really sure the connection between this alleged criminal and where he works or what his profession happens to be. It makes no sense. And the fact that everyone from that profession or that company has to miss out, especially the LGBT employees, is just really unfair and it's really wrong. I think it's more logical to assume that the Mardi Gras committee just doesn't really like the police force. LGBT community has had a really checkered past with the police force. Now, present day, I think it's all good. I can't speak on behalf of the community, obviously, but they are trying really hard to make up for the past wrongs. Alex Greenwich went on air today and spoke about it. He's a Greens MP, he's also gay, and he brought up the fact that there are still a lot of unsolved murders from decades past of gay men. And historically, gay hate crimes were obviously rampant in any city, but very much so in Sydney. And when gay people were killed, they weren't really followed up. Yes, there would be a lot of hurt from that. Alex Greenwich said today the hard truth of this report is if someone like me, a gay man, was murdered in the 70s, 80s or 90s, it was highly likely the police would not care. And yes, that is true for back then, but times have very dramatically changed now, and LGBT people are treated like everyone else. Some would argue preferably more than anyone else. They've also said part of the past and the resentments that they still hold is the fact that in 1978, which was the first Mardi Gras in Sydney, it was broken up by brutal police action. So I think Mardi Gras kind of started as this rebellion and this protest against police brutality in the LGBT community. And obviously that's a terrible thing. But to harbor those resentments to this day and to take it out on present day police officers who just want to be inclusive and participate in the parade, I think is really wrong. It's the same argument as the Australia Day argument or the Voice argument. The fact that a group harbors so much resentment and takes it out on people who had absolutely no part in what happened decades ago. It's not fair for the people who are trying to make things right and trying to create a better future moving forward. And this obsession with constantly looking back and constantly punishing the present day for the sins of the past, it's not constructive and it's not sustainable, because what's going to come of that? How are we possibly going to move forward and be better in the future if this resentment is constantly stifling any progress? Present day police officers, there are so many LGBT officers in the force today, and they truly want to make amends. They would have hated what the police officers of 30, 40 years ago did. And we've come so far from there. So why would the Mardi Gras committee just bring back all of these past wounds? Plus, the LGBT community is constantly asking for allyship. They're always saying cis straight people need to be allies. We need representation in government, in corporate. We want to be treated equally. Yet they then want to just exclude a huge amount of people who truly want to collaborate. It doesn't make any sense. How can you say that you're an inclusive group, yet exclude a whole group of people who want to push your cause forward? It's completely hypocritical. And we see this so much with the leftist agenda, whether it be climate change, racism, sexism, LGBT. And I'm not stereotyping here, but I can't help but say it because I'm seeing it unfold right before my eyes. It's one rule for them and another for everyone else. They demand that everyone panders to them, and then when they get what they ask for and people actually want to support them and align themselves with them, they say, no, we're not interested. I don't know if they realize, but having a huge amount of policemen and women actively wanting to march in a LGBT parade is a huge leap forward. The police force of yesteryear would have absolutely died at the thought that their police force would be participating in a queer event. That would have brought so much shame onto the police force, and they would not have been allowed to do that. Imagine the commander in 1980. If some young cadet came up to him and was like, I want to march with a bunch of gay people. He would have been out of there so quickly. And what's worse, he would have probably been subject to a whole torrent of abuse. And the fact that this is now actively encouraged is, I would think, such a good thing. And it shows how far we've come. So to not appreciate that is just doing such a disservice to the entire community, both the LGBT community and also the police community. If you're demanding inclusivity and you're demanding to be treated equally, then by the same token, you need to treat the people who are supporting you with the same respect. And this decision by the Mardi Gras committee is flying in the face of that.